Hello everyone, today we're going to be going through the topic of how standards are created and the FASB codification. So the first thing is something called due process. So due process is basically the process by which financial accounting standards are created by the FASB. Okay, and so the way that this works is that in the past, the FASB has been criticized by a lot of people, the public and the economic community, because it seems like they might have been ignoring people's wants and needs. And so what happens with due process is that this due process, it aims to involve everyone from the economic community that may be affected by the standards set by the FASB. So they just want to get everyone's input into the standards to make sure that they're being formed in a way that is beneficial for everyone and reflects the economics of the transaction, but also is not hurting groups unnecessarily, basically. Okay. So we're just going to go through quickly what the steps are in this due process. Okay. Basically, first, the FASB is going to identify the topics that it will explore. All right, so they just identify these are the topics that we're going to explore. Next, second, the FASB conducts research on the topic, and from this research, they issue a document called Preliminary Views to the Public, reflecting the FASB's initial ideas on the topic. Okay, so they're just their initial thoughts on the topic. All right. Third, a public hearing is held to get feedback from the public about the preliminary views document. So again, involving the public, trying to get people's thoughts about what people think about these ideas the FASB is putting out, these standards. Okay. Fourth, an exposure draft is created, which incorporates the feedback from step 3 from this public hearing. The exposure draft is basically a rough draft of the standard. Then fifth, we have more hearings to get feedback from the public on the exposure draft. And then sixth, the FASB issues an accounting standards update, which is a final version of the standard. And then the very last is that 4 of the 7 members we must vote in favor of the ASU for it to become GAAP and is generally accepted accounting principles. Okay, these ASUs you can kind of just interchange them with financial accounting standards. Okay, so if someone says financial accounting standards, it's very similar. It basically means the same thing as an accounting standards update. Okay, so that's basically due process. Now let's look at a couple of different types of pronouncements that are put out by the FASB. Now the first type of pronouncement that is issued by the FASB is the Accounting Standards Update, and the other one is the Financial Accounting Concepts. So those are the two main types of pronouncements issued by the FASB. All right, so first we have the Accounting Standards Update, ASU. Okay, and this is a pronouncement by the FASB that amends the Accounting Standards Codification. The Accounting Standards Codification. So the Accounting Standards Codification, the ASC, and this ASC, the Accounting Standards Codification, is the sort of the storehouse of all authoritative GAAP. It's where all the actual accounting rules reside. Okay. And so it's just basically this huge document, right? These updates, these ASU updates, they cover major topics, such as if you were going to change the presentation of all the financial statements, such as income statement, balance sheet, statement of cash flows, all those type of statements. It covers a major topic, okay? And then there's actually a second type of update that is issued by the Emerging Issues Task Force. The Emerging Issues Task Force, that is the EITF. Okay, and this EITF, they help the FASB to set standards for very specific issues that don't affect a wide range of companies. All right, so these cover like a specific topics, maybe pension or something like that. The difference is these accounting standards updates, they cover major topics, right, such as changing the presentation of all the financial statements. All right. And so the accounting standards updates are generally set by the FASB itself, like the actual Financial Accounting Standards Board. And then we also have these other updates for very specific issues that the FASB may not have time to cover. Okay. So that's what we have for the first page. Then we move to the second page. We have a couple other topics that we're going to get to. The next one is the Financial Accounting Concepts. This is the second type of pronouncement that the FASB issues. So this is the Financial Accounting Concepts. So this is a pronouncement by the FASB that sets overall objectives and concepts to be used in the financial accounting and reporting, as opposed to specific guidance on how to handle a transaction. So basically the difference between financial accounting concepts and accounting standards updates is that these financial accounting concepts, as an example, these are covering concepts such as the definition of assets, liabilities, and equity, and the characteristics that make accounting information useful, right? Versus in these ASUs, right? This is opposed to the specific guidance on how to handle a transaction. This would be like an ASU, also known as GAAP, right? GAAP, the Generally Accepted Accounting Principles. Okay, those are specifically how to handle a transaction versus these financial accounting concepts are basically, okay, what's the definition of asset? What's a liability, right? Stuff like that. It's just different in focus. All right. And these financial accounting concepts, they'll help us develop a conceptual framework for the accounting profession, which we'll see in future videos. Okay. So next, we have a couple other items. The next thing is the Financial Accounting Standards Board Accounting Standards Codification. Standards Codification, also known as just Codification. Okay, so if you hear someone talking about the codification, this is the full, right? It's obviously a mouthful, it's very long, but it's basically just the codification, meaning a collection of all accounting standards that are considered authoritative, right? So we kind of talked about before, it's the storehouse of all authoritative GAAP. It's all our accounting standards housed in one place, all right? And so quickly, the way the codification is organized, well, we start with topics and then move into subtopics, sections, and then finally paragraphs. So for example, if we have the citation 330-10-30-1, that means that we're looking at topic 330, which is inventory, subtopic 10, which is called overall, section 30, which is called initial measurement, which is kind of just like basically how you value the inventory when you first buy it. And then paragraph 1 would tell you the actual accounting treatment for the transaction. So paragraph 1, the actual paragraph is giving you like the substantive, this is what you do with this transaction. This is how you treat it. Okay. The last little note for this lesson is that GAAP is created in a political environment with many groups lobbying the FASB for their own best interests. Okay. And so what we need to note from that is the FASB needs to be careful when it creates GAAP, that the GAAP, it actually reflects the economics of a transaction and not simply creating GAAP that appeases certain groups. Okay. So they don't just want to make GAAP because certain groups like it. They want to make sure that the GAAP is actually reflecting what is actually going on. What's the economics of the transaction? So that's going to do it for this video, and I hope that was helpful.